Good morning, everybody. Happy Friday. Oh, boy. Good morning, everybody. Happy Monday. That wasn't a good start, was it? Sorry about that. Did y'all just get excited for a split second? I'm sorry. Happy Monday. Monday. Can't trust that day, huh? Oh man, I just zinged my shoulder, which has been so much better when I shut the door. Do you ever do that? Have like a latent injury and you do something and it zings you and it runs through you like wet heat pain. Whew, happy Monday. Let's see if I can come down off that a little bit. Lisa, good to see you. Happy Monday. You have a short meeting at noon. Okay, we will be here. We will be here. And Kira, good to see you. Happy Monday. Carol in Wisconsin, happy Monday after your adventures of Friday, right? Kirsten, happy Monday. Everybody, good to see you. Tara, I have to respond to the message you sent me. That was exciting. Beverly, happy Monday. I am having a good day. I'm having a busy day already, minus this little shock of pain, which I hope does not reignite all of that horror. Martha, good to see you. Thank you for more buttons. Thank you for more buttons. It's button time. Cue that horrible song Hammer Time and we'll make it button time, right? Oh, please like the video. Definitely, Kira. Please like the video. More and more people are seeing videos. I'm getting more and more messages from other places. It's super exciting. It's great to connect. Kaz, good to see you. I wrote to Kaz on the Facebook group this morning. Our Facebook group, if you're new, is Rug Hooking and Punch Needle Club. And we had a dye class last night, which I think went really, really well. We dyed, I'm going to show you mine, but we dyed 3 wools and 3 skeins of yarn. So more on that in a minute. But when Kaz posted her finished results, I had a kind of a tough night sleeping. I got kicked in the throat and the chin a few times by Jocelyn, and I was half asleep, and I opened up my phone and I saw, my eyes weren't even in focus yet. I didn't have my glasses on. I opened up the phone and I saw this beautiful fabric and yarn, and I thought it was the buy and sell group. So I got into that crazy mode because you know how competitive and aggressive people can be in that group. I was going to do like me first, yes please, or and I was like, oh, it's Kaz's stuff from our class last night. That makes way more sense. It was so beautiful. I was ready to buy it. Like hair trigger. It was really funny. Penny, good to see you. Penny, I loved the star piece that you did on your way to Indiana. It looks absolutely beautiful. It's such a nice patriotic piece. You know I love patriotic pieces, and it was really, really, really nice. Anita, good to see you. Anita, I put the Van Gogh set up just now. So the link is right there right now. So that is there. I'm going to show you that in a minute too. Because of you. Oh, Kimberly, good to see you in Northwest Ohio. Good to see you. It was fun on cocktail night too, wasn't it? We finished up our sort of chapter on Alice Butler, and I'm still working really positively with the family to get those patterns going, because I know a lot of us loved that whole segment on Alice Butler last week. Her really different and special designs, and I think a lot of us are looking for at least one of them to hook. So more on that. That is definitely in the pipeline. Joy, good to see you. Joy was in the dye class last night too. It was super fun. You're welcome, Kaz. So let's do that first. Let me show you what we came up with in the dye class. It really was fun. I did different stuff than I did because I had already showed you the pieces that I'd done, and I'd even hooked some of them into backings already, into projects already. So I did slightly different ones. This is the tie that I did originally. This is the Summer of Love class that we did last night, our dye class. I had already shown you that one, and I'd already shown you the hand painting one. So I went and did some different ones last night. I did minis, right, because I've been dyeing like crazy. Oh, I'm getting a message. Let me change my glasses. All right, there we go. Oh, message went away. Let's see. Catherine says, me too, to Anita. All right, I'm going to keep my eye on those messages. Catherine, good to see you. So this is the hand-painted one that I did last night, just a small one. You know, we do so many different techniques in the class. I say that we're going to do 6 because we've got 3 skeins of yarn and 3 long quarters of wool. But we never do 6. We always do more because I love to just pump you, full of all of the information so that then you have more to pick and choose from, you know, and definitely color-wise. If you don't exactly like the colors that I've chosen, you can do something that's more you. So we do lots more techniques in these classes than 6. So this is a hand painting one that I did. That one was fun. I already know what I want to use that for. And I did another drip technique. This was the one that was called, I think this one was called Flower Power. I love the way that one came up, and that is going to do a really good fade. I did that the same way. Let me grab this. If you remember, I have not gotten this on the website yet. Remember this one that Jossie designed, that background is the same technique, just different colors. That kind of dripping color. And then when you cut it vertically, you got lots of possibilities, you know, for color change. Really, really fun. And then I did another tie-dye, a small tie-dye one, this one here, which I also really love. I am often loath to cut stuff up, but when you do cut it up, it hooks really well. And then I did some skeins, and you know what was so funny? Oh, thanks, Kira. You know what was so, oh, Kimberly, right? You love the Alice, but you can't stay out of it. I have the same thing with that book. I love the book. I love the pieces. I love this Vic's involvement with his mom. And I love her. I love Alice. I just love her. I can't stop looking at the pictures of her. She just seems like such a neat person, you know. So we did 3 skeins too. And again, I was just squirting with my own colors just to demonstrate and kind of watching and answering questions. Penny, I'm not surprised that you like that tie-dye because that is right up your street, right? So, you know, I did 3 random ones with the techniques that we were using last night. I wasn't using the same colors. I was just squirting what my hand grabbed. And, you know, when I woke up and I looked at them, I thought, here it goes. Am I getting ready for Halloween or something? I mean, this is like crazy. These are super Halloween colors. I realized subliminally there's some stuff going on. This is the one that I kind of ombre dyed two-tone, like a dipping process. These aren't quite dry yet, or I would have put them into cakes for you. This is the one that I did the direct sprinkling on if you were in the group. It came out with, it's hard to see, I think, in this light, but lots of little colors. It's also not in super great focus, right? Well, there's lots of green in there. I'm surprised the greens aren't showing better. But I really like this one, too. This has a good sort of, why isn't the green showing? There's a lot of green in there. It's not showing at all. This is going to be a good, like, Halloween background, hazy, getting to be dusk, almost time to put your mask on kind of look. And this is my favorite one that I did last night. This is the one that was partially dipped, that I dipped with the special, like, slow sort of technique that we're using with the spoon. And then I dripped in or sprinkled in lots of colors. And, you know, I wasn't sure that I really would like the orange mixed with, like, periwinkle, lilac, blue. But I really like it. I really like it. So I'm definitely going to keep this one and see what I'm going to do with it. And we'll see, number 1, how they cake up when I wind them. And number 2, how they hook. How do they hook, right? So it was a super fun class. Everybody was so good, so nice. And with these dye classes, you know, some people dye. Kaz is like super busy, bunny rabbit in the background, just busy, busy, busy. Jennifer was really busy too. And you know, some people will be busy dyeing. Other people are busy taking notes and asking questions. And they're both right, because those questions are great prompts for me when I'm totally consumed with the busyness of the physical work, moving pots and pans around, checking things. It's very helpful to have great questions like I had last night, to keep things going, to keep things moving forward, and to help me prevent, you know, forgetting to say really crucial things that I overlook because I just burnt my hand, which I did in the first 5 minutes, you know. And I didn't want to make a big deal out of it because I sound like the crooked man who lives in the crooked house with the crooked cat, the way that I'm falling apart lately. But man, it hurt. So that dye class was really fun, and people have already been writing as a result of all the great posts in the Facebook groups, all the success that you had with your dyeing last night. People are already saying, what's the next class? So I'm going to tell you, this is what I'm thinking. This is what I'm thinking, because, you know, we're going to be into September, right? So we'll probably be doing the class in early September, middle September. I don't want to do like a back to school theme. It just doesn't feel right. And I'm not excited about back to school this year with everything being so stressful and scary still. But I was thinking about, in anticipation of fall, without going full blast, like autumnal, without going full blast, I was thinking about running a dye class called the Brady Bunch palette. because, you know, when you think of it, right, this last one was like psychedelic. It was very bright colors. This isn't going to be psychedelic. I'm just thinking about the colors on their set, like the avocados, the mustards, the sort of honey Dijons, the different browns, the rusts, the oranges. It really is an autumnal palette, but it's not like the kind of full blast. It's not like the really bright colors. It's those kinds of subdued 70 colors that I think would be great for, good to see you, Linda, that I think would be great for, you know, contemporary pieces, but also traditional hooking, because they're really all traditional colors. So I thought that could be fun. Let me know what you think of that. I wanted to name a palette that would include autumn colors, you know, and some others like avocado, some that, tomato, some that go outside of like the straight autumn colors, you know, not just the colors of leaves, but colors that we associate with the 70s and with the Brady Bunch and all those great episodes. Remember the spider on Peter's chest? I think about that all the time. Almost every time I go to bed, I think about the spider on Peter's chest and all those great Vincent Price episodes, right? It was so much fun. But I wouldn't do brights because I just did brights. So I would be looking more toward like the sunflower yellows and the oranges and the tomatoey colors, the browns, the olive greens, the avocados, that kind of thing. So let me know what you think, if that sounds good. I thought that would bring us nicely into October, November. Other things I want to let you know before I get going on a tear, I just want to remind you, for those of you who are local, and I'm sorry to keep bringing it up for those of you who are not, the meeting, our get-together, it's not a meeting by any means, our fun get-together on August 21st, Saturday, at Donna Swanson's place, her rug hooking shop, which is my favorite one in the world, over all of them put together, it's my favorite one. Saturday, August 21st, Whispering Hills, Nancy Drew, Woodstock, Connecticut. And I will be there 10 to 2. Now, Donna called this morning, and, you know, she is an icon. She is part of that rug hooking royalty. She has been in the game for a long time. Her place, I'm not going to start, but it's like a museum of rug hooking. It is, I mean, it's the equivalent of our museum of rug hooking in the U.S. It's extraordinary. It's just extraordinary. And for those of you who are watching now, if there's a chance you like books about rug hooking, she has them all. She's got multiples of all of them, and they are not overpriced. Some of them you're going to say, I could not find this on eBay, Abe Books, Amazon, anything. Well, Donna's got it. And she's got her drawers and drawers and drawers of hooks that you can try, frames that you can try, punches, accessories, even like antique sewing stuff. She's gotten all these little sort of apothecary drawers. It's just extraordinary. So I hope you can be there. But the reason she called was because she wondered how many people were going to be turning up. Because I know that there's a group of people coming from New Hampshire. She got a call, a carload of people coming from Rhode Island. And I know the other class I taught this weekend, and I'll tell you about that in Madison, Connecticut, that there's at least 4 or 5 people coming from that class. And those people aren't necessarily in our group. So she was starting to not worry, but wonder about numbers. So if you are coming, let me know either on the Facebook page, you know, because I have an entry set up pinned to the top about that event. Just say I plan to come. And otherwise, if you're not on Facebook, if you don't mind just sending me an email to say I plan to come. The main thing is we need to know if you want to come and you're just going to hang out and have some donuts, chat, catch up, meet, shop, walk around, which is what I'm going to do, to be honest. I'm not even going to pretend like I'm going to sit down and hook, because I socialize too much when we get together, and I just don't hook. So essentially what we're worried about is chairs and butts and seats. So I'm thinking, you know, if you are just coming, if you plan to just come and you might bring a project on the off chance that you'll sit down for a little while, but you mostly want to come and mingle and chat and see what people are working on, look at the rugs that Donna has in her place, see what she's got there, then let me know either way if you don't mind, but let me know if you're just doing that, because she's not worried at all about people who are kind of like standing and walking around. She's worried, like hostess style, about having seats and making sure everybody's comfortable and has enough space. So we were talking about that a little bit this morning, and I told her I'd put the word out about sitting and hooking, like, you know, very sort of solely, like I want to go in, I want to say hi, and then I want to sit down and hook for a couple hours, versus kind of hanging out and socializing, because that doesn't always require like a complete chair the whole time. So just let me know. I'm super looking forward to it. I'm super looking forward, and I'm going to try to not shop, and let you go at it, because I'm a terrible pig when I get in that store. I just start hoarding stuff, like I've never seen a rug hooking store before. So Donna A, so happy to see you covering the inspirational Anne Wiseman documentaries were made of her projects by the International Film Foundation, although I haven't found them yet, nor have I. I've been looking for them too. So we're going to have to check that out. I agree. That is the next thing that's coming up in this episode. Anne Wiseman has blown me away, scrambled my brain, changed my life. But I'm just going to finish getting through the announcements. So that's coming up at Whispering Hill. Just want to remind you, the Maud Lewis Designing Like Maud Lewis class is coming up August 18th and 22nd. You pick the date. Doesn't matter which one. It doesn't really matter. I don't even really need to know, because you can always change it. It's a Zoom class. But I will be sending, a couple days before the class, I'll be sending you a bunch of things to print out so that we have games to play and composition projects to work on during the Maud Lewis class, Designing Like Maud Lewis, right? Also, our book club meeting is coming up August 29th. Our book this month is Tracy Chevalier's A Single Thread. God, I struggle so much. I always want to say red line or a single line. I think it's a single thread. That is coming up August 29th at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So that will be another Zoom meeting. Maybe I'll tell you about the Madison class later, because I want to get some. Texted. But in a nutshell, it was a fantastic class in Madison, Connecticut. I'll just tell you, it went really well. It was a full class. Everybody got to choose between two kits, one punch, one hooking. Everybody did super, super well. Some people did extraordinarily well. It was just crazy. I don't like to say student for whatever reason. It's just like I don't like to call my friends' mothers by their first names, even though I'm almost 50. I just don't like to say student, because I feel it somehow creates like a separation, and I don't feel separate. I feel like, let me show you this thing that you might not have seen yet. It's not. I don't feel like I'm teaching, but I suppose I was. And there were, I don't think students there were a bunch of super nice buddies there that we did work together side by side, and it was super fun. And they showed me some stuff too, because they did some crazy stuff with color that I would have never thought to have done. It was super fun. And it really was such a success. It was a great space for us. The parking situation was good. Beautiful yarn store, Madison Wool, often called Mad Wool. Dana, who runs it and owns it, is fantastic. She is lots of fun. And she asked me after the class, if you are local, she said, what do you think about doing, because it's not far from me where I live, she said, what do you think about doing a monthly thing? And sometimes it be a hook-in, sometimes it be a class. And I thought, let's do that. Let's nail that down so that there's a place that people can go that they know locally, at least, that you can find me constantly and come and ask a question. I'm struggling with this. I'm having problems with this. Does this look right to you? What do you think I'm doing wrong? Should I keep going? This kind of thing. But at the same time, it gives me the chance to run a bunch of small classes. Like, I want to do some holiday-themed classes. No matter what holiday you celebrate, seasons, holidays. I have everything, I have everything. I do everything. I celebrate everything. So there's a lot of nice things coming up. So I think I will do that, and I will be announcing that here too. Once a month, getting together there, sometimes in a class setting, sometimes in a hook-in setting. But just to be able to latch up and meet and have some instruction and have some questions answered. So that will be fun. Does Donna have a website? Oh, no, I think Donna Swanson, who is Whispering Hill. So Donna of Whispering Hill does have a website. It should be Whispering Hill. Just put in Whispering Hill, Woodstock, Connecticut. It's, I think, 16 Castle Rock Road. God, my memory is so good still, isn't it? I shouldn't say that because anything could happen. But yeah. My eyes are not, but my memory still is all right. Woodstock, Connecticut. And again, it's such a great town. I wish you did too, Tara. I really wish that you did, truly. I have a feeling I'll see you soon, though, I hope. That border's going to be open, or is open, right? It's August. Yeah, me too. So Dawn is Woodstock, Connecticut, right next to the town of Putnam, Connecticut, in the quiet corner, the southeastern corner of Connecticut, right on the Rhode Island line. Putnam is a beautiful town right next to it, with two of the biggest antique stores you will ever see in your life, and there are often rugs in there, fun things, very affordable, very charming old industrial town. Wonderful day out, no matter what the weather is. We'll be inside. Hi, Barbara. Oh, Barbara, I wish you could come too. I really wish you could. We'll all get together someday. I know we will. And I don't mean that in a maudlin way, like, Gates of Heaven way. But I mean, I'm not putting that down either. I hope I see you there too. But, I'm doing a lot more traveling, and now things are getting a little bit better with life. And you know what, the situation with everybody being well and being vaccinated and all that. So northeast corner. I said southeast corner. You're right, northeast corner. Kirsten, can you come? I know you're not. I know you're probably not, and you've got a lot going on. But yeah, I would love it if you came too. Otherwise, next time. So, all right. So I wish I did too, Barbara. But I will. I'm going to make it out everywhere soon. And I'm going to say it again. If you're in an area where there's other hookers, there are people who might be interested in hooking. Even if you're quite far from me, just let me know. We have a great yarn store, right? We have a great yarn store, like the ones where you often teach. I like teaching at yarn stores because I like teaching beginners hooking with yarn because it's pretty foolproof and easy. If you have a great setup or you know of a place and you say, well, would you be able to make it out here? If it's anywhere I can drive to, if it's reasonable at all, I'm good with driving long distances and staying a couple nights just for fun because I'm always looking to tack an adventure on to teaching and other things. And I was a tour guide before I did this, before I had the kids, and I miss that. I miss that whole traveling and flea bag hotels and all that stuff. I love that stuff. So, Barbara. Oh, you know what else? Let me just show you one more thing. It's going to tie into our book today, and I'll probably be covering this book for a few days. Tara, I just wanted to show you. I pinned it onto my heirloom rug just so I don't have to be without it. Behind me is this great piece I picked up on eBay. It's called Sock Monkeys. Have a look at this. I didn't recognize. Let me bring it to you. I didn't recognize who made it. Now the initials are. Where'd they go? I thought there were initials on this. Am I losing it? Just complimenting myself on how good my brain is working. No, I don't see initials. Oh, there they are. K-A-T up here. So if you recognize who that is, give a shout out. I would love to know. This is absolutely gorgeous. I don't even the year. I don't know if this is whose design this is. I don't know who puts this out. I'm assuming it's a commercial design. And I just think it is so whimsical and so much fun. When I saw it on eBay, I was up early. It had just been posted. I thought, you know what? I'm getting it. I love it. The kids loved it. They laughed at it. I thought, this is really great. I thought it was a great traditional composition. I love the background, right? The mixed colors in the background. But you know what I love most about it? I'm going to bring you close up, right? And I'm going to set this up a bit better. You know what I love most about it? In the class in Madison this weekend, one of the buddies who was there hooking, she hooked in a style that she called higgledy-piggledy. Now, we all know this phrase, higgledy-piggledy, and I guess it's meant to have a sort of negative association, but to me it doesn't, because I am going to say it. Higgledy-piggledy is my favorite style of working. It is. I find it very difficult to hook higgledy-piggledy. I really do. It's very hard for me to break from doing straight lines and perfect curves, and not that I'm super even or I have any sort of Pearl McGowan in me, but doing higgledy-piggledy is something else. So you love the Martha, huh? You live in that's Minnesota, right? Minnesota. Huh, haven't been to Minnesota. And you have flea bag motels. That sounds perfect. I bet you also have Chinese restaurants with Mai Tais. All the things I love the most. So higgledy-piggledy. Let me show. Now this rug is not all over higgledy-piggledy, but I did notice that there was some. I'll bring you in close. There was some the background is absolutely not higgledy-piggledy. It's fantastic. But I did notice there were some areas where there was some quite loose style. I'm just taking you on a tour through. Look at that beautiful shading there. Color changing wool. And then tweedy wool at the bottom, right? There were some areas where the style was much more sort of loose, uneven, a bit on the higgledy-piggledy style. But then she alternates it with stuff like this, where she does very deliberate rows. And the other thing she has going on in this is, if you look at the flowers, some of these flowers, like maybe this one, there's one that's a really good example. Let me show you this one. Some of the flowers, you see how she's gone to like a 5 cut or even a 4 cut. Down, it's an 8, right? And then she's gone down to a 4 or a 5. I like how she changes that out. But she's done some seriously loose hooking on this. And, it made me think, yeah, I want more of that. I want more of that. I want to own more of that. I want to own more stuff that's hooked in that style. And I want to do more of that myself. You know who else hooks in this style? And it is a fast style, right? I think it is. I think it's the result of hooking very quickly, which I love, because to me, that is so tied to the origins of rug hooking. Hooking fast, right? You're not hooking for beauty. You're not hooking to make it look like it's been manufactured for a machine and it's going to go on sale at Home Goods. You want it to look like you did it. So I just love this freer style of hooking. The White Cat, I always talk about Cat at the White Cat in Cotuit on Cape Cod, the town of Cotuit. She hooked this and Joss got it. She hooks a lot of great stuff. Joss got it, well, I got it, of course. Joss did a chore. She picked a piece of garbage up off the sidewalk, and I ended up giving her money, like, we got to sort out this allowance thing a bit better. But Chris hooks in this style really well. The style that I think people would say higgledy-piggledy, but honest to God, I'm not joking. This is my favorite style. I love it when it looks wild and free. And the reason I mention that is because that is so much what this book is about. I'm definitely going to run over today because I'm certainly going to start the book. There's just a lot to say on Mondays. Am I sitting on the, yeah, I'm sitting on the book. There's a lot to say on Mondays. I almost forgot to say, FYI, I saw most of you had found the Van Gogh challenge. I put out the Van Gogh set, right? I just mentioned that. So it's a swatch set with the blues, with the oranges and yellows, Van Gogh's favorite colors. If you're doing the Van Gogh challenge or if you just love the colors, and then this this like 20 sort of piece hornet's nest of all different kinds of fibers. 2 little skeins of chiffon, really thick ply, koi goo, right? Koi goo yarns, the knitting yarns, a little bit of t-shirt jersey, 25 cotton loops from making pot holders, mohair, plain wools, 5 bouclés, but all of this selection of what you see with the swatches, the 13 by 3 swatches of this and this, that is the Van Gogh set. So I just put that up there. I think it's at $70. I hate putting things that expensive supply-wise because I like to keep it low, but it is a lot of wool at the end of the day, and then it is quite a bit of different stuff. There's sari silk in there too. So it's lots of stuff. So if you're doing the Van Gogh challenge and you need Van Gogh, Van Hoff colors, there they are. And otherwise, if you just love the colors, there they are. So the whole idea of higgledy-piggledy really sort of resonates, particularly after I've been looking at this book by Anne Wiseman. She is unbelievable. Now, this is another one of these books. It's a little bit hard to find. I looked at the availability online. It's there, but there's not a lot of copies. And there's a good chance that after this morning there won't be any copies. But this book, she's got at least 2 books on hooking. This book is the one I'm looking at this week, and it's called Rag, Tapestries, and Wool Mosaics, Anne Wiseman, and that's Anne with no E. Now, this book is extraordinary. The way I feel about all of the books that we cover, there's something special about all of them. They all have something great. This book speaks to me the most in terms of her voice, right? I love the art. I love her work. I love what she does. But her philosophy on rug hooking really, really speaks to me more than any other voice that I've heard in rug hooking. So this book came out in what year? 1969. So I'm going to read to you. I never read things like this on the flaps, right? Because there's usually nothing of any interest there. But this is really interesting. I'm just reading you a part of how she introduces her book. Her philosophy is so similar to what I try to do that it's uncanny. And for that reason, I immediately connected with it and was just like soul connection. She says, the craft of rug hooking has become an exciting, simple, and inexpensive art medium for a wide variety of people, including beginners, expert craftsmen, artists, and teachers. Now, right there, she's reminding us that rug hooking is not a hobby that's just for people who are interested in a new hobby. Remember all of the episodes we've done in the past about people who are fine artists and do other kinds of art that cross over to rug hooking, because it's a great crossover medium. Right? It's a little bit of sculpture, right? It's got dimension. It can have more dimension if you want more dimension. But it's a great crossover for all kinds of people, not just the one kind of person who's a beginner, sort of floundering, looking for a hobby. And that's the approach that you normally see in these books. So she says, this book is designed to teach the beginner the mechanics of the craft and guide the artist in a new creative adventure. Twofold, right? So it's going to appeal to a beginner, but it's also, if you're already an artist or you feel like you're an artist, it's going to help you move to the next level. Precise text and numerous illustrations. Now this is very dry. She uses a variety of tools, dye, vegetable and commercial dyes. She teaches you how to compose a cartoon, she says, and transfer it to the tapestry backing. One of the things about this book that I think makes it fly under the radar quite a bit is that the words rug hooking are not in the title. So, for example, when you go on eBay and you're searching under books or Amazon for rug hooking, this book is not going to come up because it's called, very romantically, Wool Rag Tapestries and Wool Mosaics, but not rug hooking. So, again, I think that's one of the reasons we don't see this book often. We should all know this book. Rag Tapestries and Wool Mosaics is aimed at curing, here it comes, fasten your seatbelt, aims at curing the kit addict and setting free the copyist, persuading him that rug hooking is a creative means of exploring and expressing his originality, or hers. It demonstrates that even in a first project, design, composition, color scheme, and other artistic elements are limited only by your imagination. So we haven't even opened the first page of the book yet, and she's already telling you that her intention is to get you off those kits and into designing your own stuff. And that is interesting. That is bold right in the beginning. So she says the author's conviction that there is almost fail-proof success in this medium is borne out by the rag tapestries produced in her experimental workshops. NBC Television and the International Film Foundation in New York City have both produced documentary films available as teaching guides showing the entire process, blah, blah, blah. So we need to track those down. If you find a link, let me know. I will certainly buy them and share them. So then I open up the book and I see stuff like this. It's mostly a black and white book. It's a 1960s book, right? But you can see that this is not a typical 1960s rug. When we're into the 1960s, we are squarely in the McGowan era. And you are seeing more of that style of things. This is very different. She is very different. So let's go a little ways in. I wanted to read to you some of the things that she says in the foreword, and then we'll get into the meat of it tomorrow. Let me show you another picture that she's done. This is called Pastor, by the author, hand-hooked with Italian wool yarn, so it's all yarn. This reminds me of like Pan or something with the pipes. But it has a real flavor of the 1960s, right? And in this regard, it's quite, I'm not going to say similar, but it does remind me of some of the Alice Butler stuff. Not the figure, right? Not the figure, but just that sort of later mid-century, 60s getting into 70s graphic look, right? It's very distinctive. The lines, the partial outlining, it's all very distinctive. So Anne is working in this time frame too. We're going to see a lot of crossover, not of pattern styles, not of personal style, but just general style, real flavor for the time. And again, you know, I've said this before, when we hook, particularly our own designs, we don't realize that we are hooking within our own time frame, right? And that's interesting. I'm going to start, I wasn't going to read this part, but these are the first words of the book. We are born into our own times, and it is hard to imagine how relatively new are the conveniences that we take for granted. That was awkward. But so, you know, what she's saying is, she's going to talk about the history of rug hooking later, but she's saying, you know, when we sit down and work on a rug, we forget that everything around us is going to be a huge influence. Our ability to use new tools, easier tools, faster tools, it's going to be a huge influence in the way that we work. And we do take that for granted. And we can't help the time that we're born into. You get what you get. But at the same time, I think we often forget how much it influences our work. And when you look at somebody's work from the 1960s, the 1920s, the 1990s, it does have a flavor of that time. Whether you realize you're doing it or not, you're doing it. Because you can't get away from it unless you're working in old, you know, antique pattern or a prim pattern. Now this is interesting because her voice in this book reminds me of Irma Bombeck, like that good. kind of funny, a little bit sarcastic, very conversational, very off the cuff, real easygoing personality. I love, and bordering a little bit on kind of, I don't want to say spiritual or self-help, but bordering a little bit on sort of metaphysical thought, right? More on that. So she starts off by saying, 100 years ago, every yard of cloth in every rug in this country was woven on a hand loom capable of producing only 8 yards a day. That in itself is a great start. That is super interesting. That was how a woman spent her time. Any woman who bragged or despaired, as many do today, and even more so now, right, that she couldn't do a thing with her hands, she simply wouldn't have survived, let alone have found a husband. This is all true. It has even become fashionable to claim general helplessness. This is 1969. Can't even boil water. Can't even draw a straight line. Can't even sew a stitch. Don't know which end is up. These are proud statements of the time-saving generations of the industrial era. So in that paragraph, she is really lamenting the way that women specifically are almost proud of the fact that they're incapable of doing anything with their hands. And she's saying, whoa, talk about night and day. 100 years before, these people would not have survived. You want to sit around and brag that you can't do anything and you can't sew a straight line, you're not capable of anything. It really sort of, you're positioning yourself as a woman of leisure, but that wouldn't have flown with our sort of foremothers, right? As we become more saturated with machine-made luxuries and accumulate cellars full of toasters, vacuums, power mowers, mechanical toys, all in despair or obsolete, we marvel at the simplicity and the enduring virtue of the primitive tool. As our eyes and tastes tire of the uniform regularity and commonness of our machine-made furnishings and ornaments, we take greater pleasure in the hand-turned relics of our great ancestors. This is such a good sentiment, isn't it? Because we talked about this a little bit in our mid-century segment last month, I think. We talked about mid-century art, atomic era art, and rug hooking. And this was the sentiment then. So 19 years later, still the same sentiment. People saying, you know, this industrial age is good for some stuff, but it's not good for everything, is it? We're losing a lot the further we go down this road. Technology is really tripping us up. And I just have to say an aside, Elisa, I think it was Elisa, wrote this morning from Australia. She put in an order in Australia, and she was having mechanical problems at the checkout with the shipping, right? It was having a hard time figuring out what the shipping would be to Australia. A huge worry, of course, because you know it's going to be colossal. But she sent a few emails and we went back and forth, and I said, well, you know, if it's a thing, don't worry about it. I can always adjust it later. I'll figure out the true shipping, make sure you're not overcharged, and if it doesn't do it at all, I'll just send out a separate invoice for shipping. And so she ended up putting the order through, and I said, oh, you figured it out in the end, you worked out the shipping in the end. And she wrote back and she said, in Australia, we call this problem picnic, and it stands for problem in chair, not in computer, right? It's an anagram, picnic. In other words, it's the person who's having the problem with technology. It's not the technology that's the problem. It's not the website. It's the person in the chair. And I thought, I had never heard that before. I thought, that is so funny. I have so many picnics every day. I just thought I'd share that because I thought it was super funny. I found it on Amazon, but you had to scroll down. Okay, Catherine, that's good information. I found it on Amazon too. Amazon doesn't always want to give you the lowest price first either, so be careful about that. I didn't check A-Books yet, but it could be there, and I know there are some copies on eBay. And it's this one. This is Rag Tapestries and Wool Mosaics. This is a must-have. This is an absolute must-have. And you know who has this is Donna, if you're going to be there in a week or two. So she says, as we face ever more numerous hours of leisure, we long for the necessities that forced us to discover our own skill as we grapple with idleness and boredom. Our confidence has been snatched. Now, this is so important. Our confidence has been snatched away from us. TV and radio tell us that we think small, that we smell bad, that we age too fast, that we have dry skin, that we need mouthwash, and that we can't live without the patent remedies and the special services that will protect us from our own stupid, bumbling efforts. Leave it to the experts. That is the accepted rule. I think that is such a sort of sage and interesting twist on popular culture. I think it's a great point, and I think she's very, very right. Because again, this is the age of, for example, paint by number. She's saying, because I wasn't born yet in 1969, but she's saying, you know, all of the things, I've seen magazines from that time, and I've read a lot about this time. She's saying, you know, all kinds of media is coming at you, telling you everything that you're doing wrong and everything that's wrong about you. And her point is that that has created culturally a situation where you don't trust yourself. And you need somebody to send you a canvas with 2,000 little things cut out with different numbers on them, printed so that you need a magnifying glass to read them, just to be able to make a painting. And she said, she's making the point, life has become like this, right? We are used to being beaten down by people telling us that we can't do things, or that you need an expert to show you how to do something. This is a great point, because think about it. It's even worse now, right? It's even worse. She says, well, take heart. This book is addressed to all the latent geniuses whose talents were overlooked, squashed, spurned, curbed, or embarrassed. To the handy who have resorted to packaged kits because their confidence in their own creativity was nipped in the bud. To those who need encouragement to stretch their self-imagined limits, and to the artists in search of a new medium. That's who this book is dedicated to. I think that is extraordinary. Isn't that gorgeous that she would write that to all the latent geniuses, all those people who at one time, you know, when you're a child, you have no hesitation about drawing things, showing things to anybody. You have no hesitation. You present yourself to the world and you just assume things are going to go well. But a few things happen to you, usually in childhood, and then your opinion of yourself changes and you become just more guarded and more careful. And with every little thing that happens and every little word that's said over the years, those little words chip away at your confidence. And you don't realize that you're older and that you have lost that sort of bravery, that spontaneity, that instinctive feeling that you present yourself. This is what I am. This is what I did. This is what I made. And your expectation is that people are going to look at it and scrutinize it and say, it's not good enough, or it doesn't look right, or, you know, it's not good at all. And I think that's really sad, but I think that's a really good point. And that will be her point throughout this book. She is going to constantly be speaking to the latent genius, that she says, you might not have found the area of rug hooking that you're great at yet, but it's going to be there, part of it, because there's so many parts to it. Maybe you're a designer. Maybe you're a fantastic technical hooker. Maybe you are great with color. Maybe you are great with defining shape. Maybe you are great with breaking up a background. Maybe you are great with doing the finishing and all the sort of end parts to it that are really difficult for most people to do. There's going to be a part of it that you're great at, and she's going to try to help you figure out what part that is. Good morning, Lynn. Lynn says you're from Tucson. You've been looking for a rug hooking needle punch group here in Tucson, but they don't even start till next month. Well, listen, if anybody's in Tucson, tell Lynn that you're there. Let her know, so you can link up just like our buddies in Wisconsin have, just like buddies all over the country have been linking up and finding each other. So give a shout out if you're in Tucson. When I read that part too just now, it choked me up a bit, I have to admit, but it reminded me of something my mom said this weekend, and I can't remember what it was. It was one of her, she's in her spirituality group this morning, or she'd be with us. It was one of these terrible stories that she tells from childhood school where she, the multiplication tables, that was it. She's got so many sad stories from school, they always get me. But she said she remembers when she was quite young and she was at school, all of the other kids got it, like the multiplication tables, you know, that you were supposed to memorize them. You just looked at them and your brain went tick, 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 and it got it. And then the teacher would call on you and you'd say, you know, 7 times 6. You had the answer just like that. But she never did. And she said it went on and on and on, the multiplication table stuff, and she dreaded it, and she would dread going into school because she knew that math would happen at a certain point in the day. And she would try to kind of hide her paper from the teacher on the desk so that the teacher couldn't see all the wrong answers that she was putting down on the paper, and that feeling of hoping you're not going to be called on. That is what chips away at our confidence, and that is what particularly chips away at our creativity, because Our creativity is a reflection of ourselves, and it's our most vulnerable part of ourselves. It's the part that we do that reflects who we are. So when people chip away at your self-esteem, it really has such a bad lasting effect. I think all people who are older, right, younger kids now, they get the white glove treatment at school, which I think is a different problem. But I think people who are older, who went through the schools decades ago, they can relate to this. And you can probably identify a time in your life when something happened that was terribly embarrassing, that really took something away from you that you didn't get back. So this is something that this book will address directly. You feel for my mom. Oh, she tells the worst stories. She told one the other day about how at the end of school, at the end of the year, because they were super, super, super no money. I don't want to say poor because it sounds awful, but they were super poor. And at the end of school, they would give them like a book to take home for the summer. So there were very few books at the library. So she had like read all of them. And at the end of the summer, there was this great row of books in the classroom, and each student would get to take one. And they picked numbers from a hat to decide who would get to choose the book first. And she saw from across the room a book that she wanted so badly. It was like one of a series that she hadn't read yet. And she picked out like the last number, like the last possible number of the class. So she said she just put her head down like this on the desk, and she just couldn't watch the proceedings as people said, oh, I'm number 2, I'm number 12, I'm number 20. Because she knew somebody would pick the book. And she said when it got to be her number, that was the book that was left on the shelf. And she said it was like the best, better than winning the lottery, the best feeling, like, oh, how did I get this lucky? But all of these little things just chip away at us. And this is the greatest book for putting it back, giving it back to you, and saying, you can do this. This is foolproof. This is for everybody. She is not going to be heavy technical. She's going to show you how to do it. She's going to be heavy creative. So if you're a technical person, you might not like this book as much, but I think you'll appreciate the sentiment that she's opening her arms and welcoming absolutely everybody, every latent genius, in to say, this is what I'm working on. This is what I'm doing with my kids. She does so many community projects. It's just a super inspiring book. So we'll start out tomorrow, same time, noon Eastern Standard Time, with looking at Anne Wiseman. And we're going to look at some of her work, some of her mural projects, huge, giant tapestry scale things, and looking more at her personal philosophy, who she was, what she did that's so important and noteworthy. Kira says, the last day of school, I had to miss the school party because I had to finish my math sheets. I was the only one in the classroom. Oh, God, that's awful. That just reminds me of that scene in Scrooge, the musical version of Scrooge, where like the young Ebenezer is sitting there because nobody takes him home for Christmas. And then his sister finally comes. And if you know the movie, you know what I mean. Super sad, super sad. You just don't get over these things. Everybody can relate, right? Lots of food for thought. I agree. This book just brought me to a different place because I do tend to teach and talk on a more personal level than a technical level. And when people ask for technical help, I jump right in, and I'm really happy and forthcoming with giving it. But for me, the important part is the abstract part to doing any craft. When you put too much technical into a craft, it really veers away from being a craft, right? The nature of a craft is that it's creative. And everything is technical to some extent, but when you become too technical, for me, I lose interest. And I lose my connection to the hobby as a craft. And I think Anne felt the same way. So this book will have real serious thrust toward pulling you into the creative world, tapping into your resources, and her personal pet project, getting you off the kit. Now, I can't promote that too much because I do a lot of kits for beginners, and that's my bread and butter. But I'm still going to read all the words that she wrote because she makes a lot of great points. So I will see you tomorrow for coffee time. Have a great day in the meantime. See you tomorrow at noon, everybody. Take care.